I'm a Learning Advisor in the Student Success team at WIT. In this video, I'm going to outline the general principles of APA referencing. But it's also important to remember that APA is more than just referencing. It's a publication style, so it has a lot of other guidelines about presentation and writing, which you can find out about here. Today, we'll just be focusing on referencing for reports and other assignments, and the edition that I'll be using in the examples is the 7th edition, which looks like this. In this Part 1 video, the focus is on why and how to reference in assignments, focusing on in-text citation. And in the Part 2 video, we'll look at the reference list. Something that we often hear from new students and those who are encountering APA for the first time is, why do I have to reference? And basically there are 3 answers. First, it's important to be honest about which ideas are yours and which ones you've borrowed from other people. So referencing is about academic integrity, and we do it to avoid being suspected of cheating or plagiarism. Second, referencing shows that your thinking has been informed by evidence from research. So referencing adds credibility and authority to your work, and your claims will be considered more persuasive if they're backed up by good quality sources. And third, referencing enables your reader to locate the sources that you've used so that they can explore the topic more thoroughly. So referencing is an important part of scholarship because it's a way to pass ideas on to other people over time and make research more efficient. One of the key things to remember about APA referencing is that it's an author-date system. What that means is that there are no footnotes or endnote numbers in APA style, and we do our referencing within the text. Because APA is an author-date system, whenever we refer to someone else's idea in our writing, we use the surname of the author. Or if the source was written by an organisation or a government agency, then we use the name of that entity. And then that is followed by the year in which the work was published. Another important point is that whenever you reference, you need to do so twice. Once within the text at the point at which you've referred to someone else's idea, and we call this in-text citation. And that's the focus of this video. And then again in a reference list, which appears on a separate page at the end of your assignment. And that's what we'll be looking at in Part 2. Sometimes what students who are new to APA forget to do is include the author-date citation within their text because they might not have been asked to do that in their previous studies at school or elsewhere. So let's look at in-text citation first. There are 2 types of in-text citations. One is called parenthetical citation, and that just means that all of the citation is contained in parentheses, which is just another name for brackets. So after we've referred to someone else's idea in an assignment, we need to put the author's surname, then a comma, and then the year, and all that's contained in the round brackets. So you don't use initials or given names in your in-text citations, except if that's the only way to tell 2 authors with the same surname apart. And you don't need the title or anything else, just the author and the year. But if you can't find the year, you can put N.D. which stands for no date instead. Often a parenthetical citation appears at the end of a sentence before a full stop, so that it's contained in the sentence to which it applies. But sometimes it might come in the middle of the sentence, and we do that when only some of the ideas in the sentence should be attributed to that author, and maybe the rest of the sentence comes from your own thinking, or there might be ideas from another author who needs to be cited too. So it is possible that sometimes we might end up with more than one citation in a sentence. The other type of in-text citation is called narrative citation, and that's when the author's name is included as part of the sentence, and then we just need to follow that with the year in brackets. Basically, because APA is an author-date system, we expect to see the date straight after the author. And that's just a quick note to tell your reader what they need to look up in the reference list to find out the title and all the other details about how to identify the source and where to find it. So let's look at a couple of examples now, and in these examples I'm going to show the correct style in black and errors in red. Okay, so here we've got a magazine article from Build magazine, and we can see that the author is Dr. Kate Bryson, and the publication date is the 1st of October 2016. So for our in-text citation, we just need the surname, Bryson, and the year, 2016. This one is a journal article that I've sourced from a database in the Which Library. The author is Kenneth J. Elwood. So for my in-text citation, I just need the surname Elwood, and the date is August 2013, so I just need the year 2013. This one is a website produced by the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and I can't see a year on this website. So the first thing I'm going to do is scroll down to the bottom of the page and see if there's a year associated with any copyright statement. Now here I can see that the copyright matches the author, so that's good, but there isn't a year there. If there was a year, I could use that as the date of the website. Sometimes you'll also see a range of years. It might say 2010 to 2021. In that case, you just choose the most recent year. But here we've got no date at all, so we're going to choose N.D. for no date. This one is a handbook that I've located using the Which Library catalogue, and I can see that the author is Peter Dagerholm. And if I look under imprint, I can find the publishing information, which includes the year. So I can see the year here is 2016. The next distinction is between ideas that you've paraphrased or put into your own words, which we call indirect quotation, and ideas that you've quoted word for word or copied from the original text, which we call direct quotation. In APA, in-text citation is needed for both direct and indirect quotation to show that the ideas that you're using are not your own. So the key point here is that you'll need to include a citation to show the idea is one you're borrowing from someone else, even when you've reworded it yourself. When you paraphrase, your citation just needs to include your name and the year, like the ones we looked at before. But when you quote word for word, you also need two more things. You need to put double speech marks around the words that have been quoted, and you also need to provide a page or a paragraph number. We do this for all quotations that are less than 40 words. There is another format for longer quotations, which looks like this. But I would recommend that you don't include long quotations in your assignments because they're not very good for demonstrating your understanding. Remember that in APA, the format for providing one page number is P dot and then the number, not the word page or PG dot or anything else. And if the quotation runs over 2 or more pages, it's PP dot, not PS or something like that. Sometimes you might be using a source that doesn't have page numbers, like a website. So if that's the case, when you quote directly, you need to count the paragraphs down and then provide a paragraph number, which will say para, P-A-R-A dot, and then the number. So that gives us 4 types of in-text citation: parenthetical and narrative, and indirect and direct. Now it gets slightly more complicated because there are different rules for different numbers of authors. If one person or organisation wrote the work that you used, you need to provide their name and the year the work was produced every time you refer to one of their ideas in your assignment. If 2 people wrote the work, you name both of them every time, but in narrative citation, you use AND between their names, and in parenthetical citation, you use that ampersand symbol between their names. And if there are 3 or more authors, you only mention the first one by name, and then you write et al. Afterwards. That's a little bit of Latin. It's short for et alia, which means and others. And you'll need to look closely at the punctuation here and notice that there's no full stop after it because it hasn't been abbreviated, but there is a full stop after al because it's short for alia. So in our narrative citation, we have a full stop after al, and then we have the year in brackets. And in our parenthetical citation, our bracketed one, there's a full stop and a comma between the name and the year. This one is the Australia and New Zealand Standard Method of Measurement of Building Works 2018. So the year is 2018. It has 4 authors: the Australian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, the New Zealand Institute of Quantity Surveyors, Master Builders Australia, and Registered Master Builders Association of New Zealand. Now this one, because there's 4 authors, in our in-text citation we're only going to mention the first one and then use et al. So it's going to be Australian Institute of Quantity Surveyors et al. Dot, and then our year is 2018. Here I've got a book with 2 authors. So one author is Suzanne Wilkinson and the other one Rosemary Schofield. So in my narrative citation it's going to be Wilkinson A.N.D. Schofield, and in my parenthetical citation it will be Wilkinson ampersand symbol Schofield. And the year is under imprint. You might also find the year on the spine label or on the copyright page, and it's 2010. This one here is an ebook that I've sourced through the Wit Library database. It's got 3 authors, Edward Allen, Rob Thallon and Alexander C. Schreier, but I only need the name of the first author for my in-text citation, so it's going to be Allen et al. And then the publication year is 2017. A very common mistake students make with in-text citation is that they don't cite often enough. You need to add a citation every time you refer to someone else's idea, and that might mean using the same citation more than once in a paragraph. It's helpful to think of a citation dying at a full stop in either direction. So if you just put your parenthetical citation at the end of the paragraph, you're only referencing that last sentence of the paragraph, not the whole paragraph, which means that if there's any borrowed ideas in the earlier sentences, you could still be accused of plagiarism. This is where narrative citation can be useful, because if you name the author early in the paragraph, you can use language to show that the subsequent sentences are still referring to the same source, which saves you having to repeat the citation too many times. Whether you want to do that or just repeat the parenthetical citation is up to you. Either's fine, just make sure it's always clear when you've used other people's ideas in your work. Finally, remember that you should include in-text citations whenever you've referred to ideas from your readings, from research, and from course materials. But you don't need to reference your own ideas, and you don't need to reference common knowledge, like the fact that the Olympics are usually held every 4 years, or that the Waitara and Patea rivers are the largest ones in the Taranaki region. Sometimes what's common knowledge and what isn't can be a bit of a grey area. So if you're not sure if a citation is needed, it pays to err on the side of caution, because it's better to cite too often than not often enough. Basically, when in doubt, include a citation, and if you know where you found that idea, you should be citing it. But if it's just general knowledge that you didn't have to look up, it's probably okay. So that's in-text citation. In the next video, we'll focus on the second part of APA, which is the reference list. Best of luck with your assignment. Ka kite anō.